Right, let's take you now to the lead. The appointment of Justice Raymond Zondo as Chief Justice by President Cyril Ramaphosa has received a wide range of reactions. Some commentators say it was a strategic move, while others believe it's the right decision. We speak now to the spokesperson for the former head of the GCIS, Mzwanele Manyi, speaking this time around in his personal capacity. Mr. Manyi, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. What do you make of the decision by President Cyril Ramaphosa? Does it come as a surprise?
Yeah, good morning, Paul, and your viewers. No, firstly, I think this whole appointment of Judge Zondo, truth be told, is actually a reviewable appointment on a number of reasons. Firstly, even the issue of introducing a new thing called a panel of experts to do the shortlisting, that on its own is not provided for in the Constitution. So basically what President Ramaphosa has done, he abdicated his responsibility to make the choice of people and submit the people to the JSE. Instead, decided to get a group of friends to put together a short list, and people that were excluded in that short list were people that were excluded not by him, but by the people that he put there who are not themselves a statutory panel, just some loose arrangement of people. So for me, the first thing that was irregular about this thing was that panel. Secondly, the JSE is a very well constituted body. It's got some 12 or so parliamentarians, it's got judges, it's got advocates, it's got attorneys, it's got an academic, it's got members of society and all of that. Now, a panel that well constituted, that has made a firm recommendation based on an objective panel interviews. And then you decide to reject that panel, and then you just make your mind on some person who the panel did not recommend. What was the basis for that? This whole notion that the president has got a prerogative, we were told during President Zuma's days that there's no such a thing, that in fact there's no such a thing as a president having an absolute power, that the president has got executive authority which must be exercised rationally. There is nothing rational about the appointment of Zondo. The panel that did objective interviews did not recommend him. And the people that he said need to consult in Parliament are people that were actually represented in that panel in the first place. So who are these people that came and gave a different view, except then that maybe this whole process was just a mockery process. So it's not clear why he ended up with Justice Zondo. He left a very competent appointment of Judge Maya, who was recommended for a whole range of things. From an age point of view, she had the right age. She would have finished this term without this thing of 2.5 years of Judge Zondo. She had all the qualifications, has got all the track record. And by the way, this is a missed opportunity because we would have had the first woman appointment in that place that is just full of men. And I want to add that this whole notion of equating women to men is actually wrong. I think women are actually been better than men. They've got a higher EQ than men. They've got much better empathy than men, and all of that. So indeed, the non-appointment of Justice Maya is a huge assault in the transformation process of this country, is an insult to women in South Africa, it's an insult to African women in particular, because you are saying that women are not ready for holding a pinnacle position of that nature, despite qualifications, despite track record and all of that. So we actually are seeing the rearing of an ugly head of patriarchy here, where women are just, by the way, this is very bad for the country.
Mr. Manyi, I want us to go to the very beginning, perhaps as you made your comments before we speak about transformation in the legal sector. Some commentators have said that Ramaphosa has now sent a very clear message to the JSE that the ultimate power for these appointments resides with the president and that he's under no obligation at all to endorse the JSE's conclusions. And he also subsequently told journalists that he was surprised that the JSE had gone so far as to recommend its preferred candidate, as he interpreted the JSE to merely be to confirm or refute that the short-listed candidates were indeed suitable. And on top of that, he has been backed by some legal bodies like the Helen Suzman Foundation, stating that the JSC had unconstitutionally sought to usurp the appointment powers of the president.
No, that is a very misguided view. The issue of the appointment of a Chief Justice is regulated in the Constitution. If it was just up to the president and nothing else, we wouldn't have had this whole interview process. What exactly are we doing there? So that process is regulated. Consulting the JSC is not a favor. It's what you must do in terms of the Constitution. As to what the JSC does and how it does its work and how it makes its recommendation is up to the JSC. There is nothing in that in the Constitution, even on Section 174, Paragraph 3, that talks to this matter. Nothing in that section says the JSC cannot make a recommendation. So these right-wing structures like your Helen Suzman and all of them, that are talking pure nonsense. These are the same structures that had called this whole process a sham, purely because they were trying to make sure that the Judge Meyer's appointment is just marred in controversy. But now that their favorite is appointed, all of a sudden, we're no longer hearing CASAC, Helen Suzman Foundation, Freedom Under Law, and all these right-wing groups. We don't hear them saying anything about the process being a sham because their favorite has been appointed. So those so-called independent experts are just hypocrites that have got an agenda to continue to make sure that a particular narrative is perpetrated everywhere, including in the judiciary. So there's absolutely nothing serious that must be made out of what you call independent experts. So for me, this appointment really is is highly questionable. You could also look at even Zondo, the person himself, as to why did he get appointed. This is a person that has turned a 6-month project into a 4-year project, and even 4 years later, he's still not done. Even with that project, it's still not done. This is a person that has denied South Africa an opportunity to hear directly from President Zuma as to what really went down in the issue of state capture. He just blatantly refused to remove himself there, and he said, he argued that he didn't know President Zuma and all of that. And the next thing, in the JSC interviews, it came out that he knew for 20 years. I mean, how dishonest can a person get? How does a person like this get to be appointed as the head justice in the country? This is a person that has actually even denied advocates Pretorius an opportunity to grill the Guptas. The Guptas have got a lot to answer. They wanted to come here through video conferencing. He refused them. But then he gives video conferencing to locals. What kind of judgment is that? We would have heard advocate Pretorius grilling these Guptas for all they've done, what they've been accused of doing.
Now very quickly, Mr. Manyi, if you'll allow me to interrupt you for the sake of time, the former President Jacob Zuma is appealing that ruling, and he's hoping that it will essentially mean that Zondo is removed. What do you believe to be his chances of success now that Zondo is now the Chief Justice of South Africa?
Before we get there, let's deal with the fact that Ramaphosa himself is implicated in that report by more than one witness. And all of a sudden, nothing about that being implicated has come out. He was implicated. We were told that at the time that he was chairperson of the war room, he was also a director at Glencoe. That is an intractable conflict of interest. Zondo has said nothing about this. So what are we to make of this thing? So there's quite a few things as well that even Machela Kuku had said he's being fired from ESCOM was irregular. Even the Labour Court ruled in his favor. Zondo said nothing about this. So this thing actually gives credence to the allegation that this was a you scratch my back, I scratch your back kind of thing. Ramaphosa himself is on record saying the ANC is the #1 accused in the corruption. Busasa gave evidence that ANC receives money as ANC, not just individuals. Nomvula was there when she was accused, and she said, no, she was fundraising for the ANC. But the ANC is not on the dock purely because it's a Ramaphosa-led ANC. So this whole thing is really about positioning Ramaphosa and making him Mr. Clean when the evidence points to the contrary. So indeed, this process, the appointment of Justice Zondo is actually a shame, if you ask me. Yeah. It is a shame.
And just very quickly going back to the question around the former president's chances of success now that Judge Raymond Zondo is the Chief Justice.
Yeah, no, look, whether Justice Zondo is there or not, the justice system of this country has decided that His Excellency President Zuma is never going to get justice. Whenever President Zuma is involved, then you get all kinds of Zuma laws, whether it's a constitutional court where they decide that normal procedures are not going to apply because President Zuma, whether, I mean, it's a constitutional court, the highest court in the land, that denied President Zuma, that detained President Zuma without a trial. It is a constitutional court that denied President Zuma a right to appeal. It is a constitutional court that denied President Zuma the right to mitigate his sentence. So what more can you expect from that kind of a constitutional court? It is the court in Pietermaritzburg that decided that an interlocutory application, which is generally done before the main application, that it must be done at the end. So just this thing about Zuma laws all the time has become what we've become accustomed to. So President Zuma, because he's a law-abiding citizen, he continues to work within the process, but the judiciary in this country is clear that it has made a strategic decision that anything that involves President Zuma must lose the case. But we're still going through the motions just to have a clear jurisprudence in this country so that people can see that you might think you have gotten rid of apartheid, but actually you've got apartheid in a highly sophisticated form here. A black man is still a problem for the system. President Zuma represents the liberation of the people of this country. He represents that view that the apartheid did not want. So he is still being dealt with for not wanting to conform into the new narrative of the New World Order. That's what is happening.
Very well. Thank you so much, Mr. Manyi. Thank you for your time. We're going to have to leave it there for now. That was spokesperson of the Jacob Zuma Foundation, head of policy and strategy for the African Transformation Movement, and former GCIS head Mzwanele Manyi, speaking to us there in his personal capacity.